whether they want to face it or not, want to see a man in a tied-up situation.
Shannon, open the door. You hear me, Shannon. You've got that child in there. You're through, Shannon. I'll see to that. When I finish with you, there won't be any place left to hide.
Maxine, you gotta help me with her, honey. She's not only trying to get me fired, she's also trying to pin on me a rape charge, a charge of statutory rape.
What statutory rape?
That's when a man is seduced by a girl under 20.
You're going to marry me, Larry.
Get out of my room and out of my life! You will...
Kill me! Kill me!
Absolutely fantastic. Shannon will emerge triumphant.
Hi, I'm Dave Tarr. Welcome to Today in Puerto Vallarta. Today we are talking to author Howard Johns, the writer of A Stolen Paradise, a brand new book from best-selling author. And you've written 2 other books, is that right, Howard?
That's right. I wrote Palm Springs Confidential, which was a huge success. And then my sequel to that was Hollywood Celebrity Playground. Those books were guides to celebrity homes and movie star scandals. And now I've written a new book, which you're going to talk about now.
Now, I understand that you've spent a lot of years developing this book.
Oh my goodness. I thought it would take 7 months. It took 7 years to write the book. A lot of research. The most research I've ever done on a book was for this book.
Now, the book is a complete nonfiction, right?
Oh yes, it reads like a novel, but it is a non-fiction novel. In other words, it's a true story. And it's about the making of The Night of the Iguana, which was first of all a play by Tennessee Williams. Then it was a movie by John Huston, and I follow the complete story from the beginning of the play when Tennessee Williams wrote it, through its development as a motion picture starring Richard Burton, Ava Gardner, Deborah Carr, and Sue Lyon. It's an amazing story, and I'm very, very proud to have written this book.
Well, we're standing here in the River Kwale along the river here, and next to the statue of John Huston. And what is the significance of this statue here in the River Kwale Island here?
Well, the most important thing to remember is that John Huston made the film here. The Night of the Iguana was produced by Ray Stark, a very famous producer, but it could have been made anywhere. John Huston chose to film it in Puerto Vallarta. It had special significance for him, and it's also where he later moved when he became older. And he never retired, you know, he never stopped making movies, but he chose to live in Puerto Vallarta. He lived in a little beach called Las Caletas, which is a couple of miles south from here, down on the ocean. But this is the place really that he felt happiest. And that's why the statue is so important, because it commemorates and remembers John Huston, the man, as well as the director, who really was responsible for putting Puerto Vallarta on the map.
Well, what was the reason they chose Puerto Vallarta as the destination to make this movie?
It's funny, you know, the play was set in Acapulco. John Huston had his own reasons. He was a very smart man, very, very crafty filmmaker as well. But he liked Puerto Vallarta. He just liked the look of it, I think. He liked the Mexican people, of course. He made 3 movies here. He didn't make just Night of the Iguana. He also made in Mexico The Treasure of the Sierra Madre, and he also made Under the Volcano. So he did 3 movies here, plus another movie called The Unforgiven. So he certainly had an affinity for Mexico and for Mexican people, but I think he just liked Puerto Vallarta. That's why he chose to make the film here.
Now, the book that you wrote, is it completed now?
Oh yes, it's been complete for some time.
And so, give us a couple of highlights of Night of the Iguana, the making of the Night of the Iguana.
So many highlights, Dave. For me, just the presence of these people here. Tennessee Williams, who was staying at the Hotel Rio, and he had his dog and his boyfriend here. You know, he was a gay playwright. You had Ava Gardner, who loved the Beach Boys, and she was dancing and drinking and having fun. And of course, the other highlight was Richard Burton romancing Elizabeth Taylor. Now remember, in 1963, when this movie was made, they were not married. They were married to other people, but there was a huge scandal at the time because she was with Eddie Fisher and Richard Burton was with his wife, and they had fallen in love on the movie Cleopatra, which was filmed in Italy. They brought that scandal to Puerto Vallarta. So you had the world's paparazzi following Richard Burton and Elizabeth Taylor all over the world, and then they landed here. It was like a bomb going off. And I document all this in extraordinary detail in the book. So it's not just the making of the movie. It's a time capsule of what was going on in 1963. It's extraordinary.
And now, how did you come up with the name A Stolen Paradise?
That's a good question. I wanted to give the book a title that had some relevancy, not just about the movie, but about Puerto Vallarta. And I think A Stolen Paradise can be read certain different ways. It is a stolen paradise. It's paradise, but somebody stole it. Did we steal it? Did Hollywood steal it? Did the Spanish steal it from the Aztecs? It's a stolen paradise on many, many levels, but it still is a paradise, and that's the thing that we want to remember.
True, and I guess had the movie not been written, what do you think would have come of Puerto Vallarta?
You know, that's the ultimate $64,000 question. What would have happened? If The Night of the Iguana was not made here, it's possible that nothing else would have happened, or maybe another movie would have been made here. I mean, this is not the only film that was photographed in Puerto Vallarta. There's been many, many movies here. I think the most famous one that most people remember now is Predator, the movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger, where the alien lands and Arnold Schwarzenegger is part of that group of soldiers that go up into the jungle. Well, that was filmed in Mismaloya as well. But I think The Night of the Iguana is more famous because it was the first one. It was the very first movie that was made here, and it changed Puerto Vallarta.
What was the date of the original first film date? Do you know that?
Well, they started the film in Mexico City, and I think the beginning of filming was September 29, around that time. And then they
And what year was that?
1963.
1963.
In Mexico City, and then they went from Mexico City. They all flew down here in special planes, and they landed in Puerto Vallarta, and then they spent October, November, and December here filming for 3 months. All these people were living together. Not all of them were friends. Some of them were lovers. Some of them were ex-lovers. There were a lot of egos, a lot of big stars here, a lot of drama took place here, which is the story, of course, of the making of the movie. And in many ways, it's more interesting than the movie. I love the movie. It's a great movie. But nobody wrote a book until I came upon the idea. They talked about it, and there were little articles, in magazines. But never had there been a book about this film. And that was the most important thing for me.
Basically, you've taken all the facts and put it into one place.
Everything.
Yes, well, I read the book, and it is an interesting story, and it is something that should be shared with everyone who comes to Puerto Vallarta and realizes how lucky we are to have this place today. Now, the amazing thing to me is, back in 1963, how were they getting all of the information and all of their set to Mismaloya? Because there really wasn't a way to get there via vehicle.
There were no roads, which is an important point the book brings up. Everything had to be brought from Puerto Vallarta to Mismaloya on boats. There were no cars or highways to take any of this in. So everything, not just the people, the cameras, the sets, all the labor, all the people involved in building all this had to be transported back every day from Mismaloya to Puerto Vallarta, and that's where they all stayed, was out here in the hotels that were here. But remember this too, Dave. Puerto Vallarta today is not what it was in 1963. It was a very small town in those days. The movie brought a lot of people here, and they stayed here, and then the result of the movie, of course, was that tourism exploded, and we're seeing the effects of that today.
Yeah, there was a lot of local places around Puerto Vallarta that, a lot of the stars used to visit, have drinks at night, and have... What are some of those locations?
Well, probably the most famous one, the one that's still here, is the Hotel Oceano Bar. That's down on the Malecon, the Hotel Oceano. It was a big old, I want to say a kind of a beach hotel. It was on several levels. The building is still there, but they all met every day in this plantation bar, which overlooks the beach, and you had everybody. Elizabeth was there, Richard Burton was there, Ava Gardner was there. Every single person, including the media, all the paparazzi, the photographers, the reporters, would be drinking there all day, because that was basically the only place at that time that could accommodate everybody. So that was one place. Then you had some of the restaurants further along, like La Palapa, which is a very famous restaurant. That was there as well. But, you know, it was a place that people gathered to socialize, obviously, at the end of the day, after filming was finished. Because Ms. Maloya was just a little fishing village. There was nothing there, basically, except a bunch of people living in the jungle. So there wasn't anywhere to go and dance and have dinner, if you know what I mean.
Right,
They had to
right.
come back to Puerto Vallarta. Didn't do that.
Well, I know right here on the side of the road, along the main highway, River Quality Highway there, and the Insurgentes, that is a place where these celebrities would walk down and roll cigars, and you buy hand-rolled
Yes.
cigars, and
Right where we walked up here was the same street. It's been there for 50, 60 years. The streets haven't changed. The buildings are still there. The only thing that's changed really is that there's more businesses here and of course more people. But the city still looks very much as it did in 1963.
well, I know we're going to take a little bit of walk around, and we're going to talk to you some more. We're just kind of following some of the path of Liz Taylor and John Huston along the River Quality. We appreciate you being here. Let's
My
go take
pleasure.
a walk.